Today we're going to welcome Ilieva Ageenko to our Diversify Inspiring Leaders podcast. Welcome, Ilieva.
Happy to be here, Sylvia.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your professional background and how you became so passionate about data and tech innovation.
I am very happy to be here and really have this opportunity to talk to the diversified community. Um, I view myself as an strategic integrator, kind of a self-starter who is an explorer of new ideas, right? I worked in financial services for 30 years, senior executive roles at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Truist, and also led a national advisory practice with Grant Thornton. I am a board member. I do many things, an advisor, a lecturer, but also a mentor, which is very important for me. Through my career, I have always integrated business strategies, data analytics, and technology innovation. And I started in economic research after college. But what really made me think about technology and become passionate about it was when I was working in marketing analytics at Wachovia, which is now Wells Fargo. And from there, I moved to e-commerce in the early days of e-commerce, and I quickly understood the power of technology innovation. So that was the tipping point for me, if you will.
Great. So, you really started off in the early days with tech innovation and data when it was still not something that many people were really about it. Yes.
Thought about it, yes, yes, in the early days.
So, what were the most important milestones that for yourself, and how did you achieve them?
That's a tricky question. And I have, when I think about it, I have several milestones, right? Important milestones on my professional career. But speaking about technology innovation, I implemented the first generation of commercial mobile banking in the US market. It was a cross-industry partnership between the bank, Qualcomm, which is a company in Silicon Valley, and two telecommunication companies, AT&T and Verizon. And if you look at that today, it's like very, primitive, but at the time, it was really what created the whole new generation of how today, right, we transact via our mobile devices. However, because the topic of our podcast is about career, right, inspiring leaders, right, global leaders, I wanted to focus on one milestone, and was when I transitioned from corporate to consulting. So at the time, I was a senior executive at Bank of America and moved to consulting. I have to develop a practice, a national practice from the ground zero, right? And develop that. And very rewarding, but it wasn't easy at all. And it was totally different from what I was doing before, right? To begin with, on the personal level, I traveled every week for 5 years. Maybe I didn't travel for Christmas, but besides that, every week. So it was definitely, taxing, not only for me, but for my family. And I learned that I have to be very resilient. Um, I live and work in different countries. So kind of I already was resilient in that sense at the personal level, but forming and leading this practice really, made me think about that, the importance of resilience. And I have to reinvent myself almost every time. With new clients. I have to serve from very large global financial organizations, which I was very used to that, to a smaller financial organizations that require a different type of services, a different approach. So every time I went to the market, I have to reinvent myself and approach things with a different mindset. So to me, is very important. It was a very important lesson for me, but I think it's an important lesson for any aspiring.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Reinventing yourself when your new challenges come up, you figure out a different way of how you're responding to those challenges, right? And I'm sure there's certain challenges that made you grow. Is there any example that you can give, a specific challenge that you felt was really helping you grow and transform as a leader?
Yes. And I view challenges as defining moments. I mean, I wanted to think in that context, right? What are those defining moments? So let me mention five of them. Maybe these are too many, but that's the way I view it. So living and working in different countries while building my career and raising my two kids. That was very, challenging. I mean, for any of us, right? It was not just about me, it's about moving them or telling them, sorry, I am busy because I have work to do, which of course I did many times. So that was number one challenge. The other one is what I mentioned, transition from corporate to consulting. Especially at the senior level, there is not kind of a training. I mean, when junior associates move, we have a training of how you do things different. When you come as the managing director, the only woman in financial services to lead that is like, hey, that's what you're here for. Go and do it. And I embrace that, but it requires a different way of thinking. Learning multicultural aspects of leadership. And I am sure you can relate to that because although there are traits for leadership, the culture, how we need to approach work and peers and employees, it is totally different based on the culture. Overcoming serious personal illness and continue to work and deliver and support my family. And then, last but not least, going through major reorganizations. I mean, I had a very large organization during the financial crisis, and of course, we went through a reduction of the workforce. And as a leader, that's what you need to do. But how do you do that without losing the human touch? To me, that's the most important. I mean, that's what you need to do. That's the business. You know, a strategy, and sometimes that's the only way to move forward. But how do you keep that human touch in mind? So to me, these are my five, defining moments.
Yeah, definitely. I can remember your background is very multicultural itself, and you're
Mhm.
living in the US, coming from a different country. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey of the multicultural background you have?
Okay, sure. Well, I was born in Cuba, so I originally from La Habana, Cuba, right? Um, and then I went to study to Russia. So talking about a big change, right? And it was great. I mean, great opportunity and learn a lot, but a completely different culture. And of course, the weather. I know sometimes we don't think about it, but living in and growing in a tropical island and then going to, that weather. I think the first year at university was the coldest winter in over 100 years. I mean, we were sitting in the classroom and we had blood coming from our fingers. That's how cold it was, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, what I am doing here. But, we all adapt and adjust. So between Moscow and Kiev, I lived there for 10 years and I work in um, the institute. It was called microelectronics, and that's where I started to get more into AI. And as a matter of fact, I did my PhD with AI concentration at Kiev University. And then from there, I moved to United States. I have been here for over 30 years with completely different culture, right? Completely different things. I am not even talking about language and all of that, but how to then look at leadership and how you influence people and how you talk and communicate. The essence are the same, but the way you do it is different.
So that's really an interesting background. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Also, I want
asking.
to thank you. Also, I want to make sure everybody knows you are a mentor and a speaker for Diversify, and we are very grateful for that. Specifically, you had a master class on the 5 lessons of leadership. which was very interesting. And you talked about success being multidimensional. That was a wonderful masterclass. So, what is an important message that you feel uh, you want to give to women that are mid-career and who are inspiring for global leadership roles?
And well, that word global is important, and it goes together with, right, our conversation about multicultural leadership, right? It's not the same, to lead in your hometown where you are used, the not only what you say, but how you say it, right? And the clothes, but that's number one. But to me, resilience is one of the most important aspects of leadership, right? How to be resilient on the personal level, but also as a leader. And learn to adjust to new trends, new environments, new culture, right? Um, Sometimes we think, oh, I know how to do it. This is the right way to do it. But we need to stop and understand the impact that our actions are going to have. And then be ready to learn and reinvent yourself all the time, especially if we're talking about women that maybe are working in one country, moving to the other one, or leading a workforce. I mean, I had teams that have employees here, I mean, in India, in Europe. So when we all got together, how to communicate with them. So that's important, and you have to reinvent yourself every time.
Yeah, so that's a clear message from you. That's reinventing yourself as a leader, reinventing yourself as a human being. That is an
Mm.
important part. Adjusting to new environments, adjusting to new companies. And so, what is the next step for you in your career? What are you aspiring to do now? With what kind of companies, for example, would you like to be on the board of?
Well, at the beginning, I mentioned that I am a self-starter, kind of an explorer of new ideas. So I am kind of living already a new chapter. So about a year ago, I transitioned from my financial services executive career to academia. And I am currently a senior lecturer at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, in the town I live, Charlotte, the city. And I teach AI and data analytics as part of the School of Data Science at Charlotte. And I view teaching, Sylvia, it's kind of mentoring, right? Teaching and mentoring have a lot of things in common. So I am really mentoring the next generation of leaders and the next generation of technology innovators that understand how to integrate business, data, and technology. One of the classes, the courses I teach at the undergraduate level and the master level. One of the courses I teach is data visualization and storytelling. I love that course, and I really, my students are learning how to use data to tell the story, to communicate with different stakeholders. And many of my students at the master level, they work. So they are able to apply those learnings right, back into the workplace. And some of them are learning how to use data to communicate with board of directors, right? So that's another value. I am on the board of the Anti-Money Laundering Financial Service Institute. Anti-money laundering, I couldn't underscore the importance of that, especially now when we think about digital payments, cryptocurrency. I mean, the money moves so fast, right? And many, bad actors are using AI as well in those areas. So that's an important role there. I am an advisor to a risk tech startup, and kind of writing, very slow, but writing an article on AI and the future of the workforce. But that's going to take me a little bit, so working on that. This type of work is very rewarding, and I am not saying this is my last chapter. I mean, probably this will lead me to other chapters. But at this moment, after, I mentioned traveling every week and going through all these, workforce reductions and things, I have a lot of flexibility to do fun activities. I love to play tennis, so I have more time to play tennis with my friends. There is also a personal side of me. It's not only work and, executive. and I have more time to for my grandkids. And that's very fun. I mean, I couldn't trade that for anything else. So this is my new chapter at the moment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, for sharing your insights, for sharing even your personal stories. Thank you so much for joining us for this Inspiring Leaders podcast.
Thank you for having me, Sylvia. And you and I have spoke many times, and we know that to become a strong leader and a successful leader, it's important to hear about experiences from others, but not only what we do at work. We need to hear how people, manage both work and their personal life. That's what I mean. Thank you for what you are doing, and thank you for asking questions.
Thank you.